Hey guys, thanks for tuning in again for this week's episode. As you see, I'm in the middle of the Overdrive installation. I ran into a few issues, but yeah, I'm gonna show you that from the beginning on. Hope you enjoyed that video. So I'm gonna roll these clips right now. Alright, let's get it in. The zip tie hit my head. What? Try my best to show you how everything works. Slow down. Stop. Keep going. Stop. Stop, bit more. Stop. Alright, second attempt to put the overdrive in. Friction plate from the clutch wasn't 100% aligned, so I had to take it off again and yeah, take the pressure plate off, take the pressure off the pressure plate, take the pressure off the pressure plate. So and then I realigned it. I went a bit more careful this time. I thought like the first time it's like should be right, but it's not. It has to be perfect, so that's what I did now. Let's try it again. Alright, down. Alright, further down. A little bit down. Alright, that's it. As soon as you do it right, it works. Alright, just do it right straight away and then you don't have to do that again. Oh, that's it. It's in. Fuck, that was easy. Few things definitely for that amount of money. They should come with new bolts. You don't know how old these bolts are, and you don't know what they went through and whatever. There's probably 10 bucks of bolts in it. That's it. That's all it is. 10 bucks more. So it doesn't hurt anyone or whatever. But yeah, it should come with bolts. That's definitely a thing. Not okay. Not okay. Should come with bolts and washers and all that funny stuff. And then you get it. And it's not even fucking painted properly. Yeah, I'm not, with the quality, not too happy, to be honest. Should be right.
They're very hard to get in when it is connected. It's just these 4 bolts, because you can't get them in because of the uni joint here. You can't get them back in. So make sure you put them in before, and then when you're at the location, then you can just like put them in. It's all good.
So the overdrive is in. I connected the drive shaft now, so it's all good. Everything works, everything fits. No thanks to the seller from the overdrive, because he wasn't help at all, but that's fine. So yeah, I haven't done much yesterday because it's just too hot, but today is probably even worse. What I did is I put the drive shaft back on. So now I'm working on the clutch line. So that's usually not attached. I just put these two together. So that is where the clutch line goes in later on. That's the old clutch cylinder. We just have to take off. I connect that hose to that. So, and then obviously I have to do all the other connections, which I don't really know how to do yet. I have a manual for it. I just going to do it step by step. Also next week, tomorrow, all the shops are opening again. I'm going to replace these bolts because the Overdrive is 7mm thicker, the rim here, as the PTO. So that means these bolts have to be replaced. So otherwise you lose like 7mm of thread inside. So that's just common sense. They need to be replaced. I'm gonna get new ones tomorrow, and then I can just quickly swap them out. I'm probably not gonna get everything back in today because it is just so hot and everything I touch is hot. We put a tarp up so we have some shade here, but it's really hot today and everything is hot to touch. So now and tomorrow I also have to buy a bleeding kit for the clutch so that I can bleed that all myself, otherwise I have to get someone again here. I'm just gonna spend the money and buy myself a kit. If anyone needs it, they can borrow it from me for a box of beer. Everything works with beer here. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. That is the clutch attached. So now I have to buy a bleeding kit, and that is the breather here, or the bleeder, or whatever you call it. Then you like bleed the system, get the air out of that hose and out of the clutch cylinder inside. And now let's keep going with all the other connections, which I don't know what to do with. Next step is to connect the air line to the Overdrive, and that means you have to pin that into the air supply from the gearbox. So that is down here, like there. That is usually attached to that, like there. Yeah. So, and replacing that with a double hollow bolt, like one of these. And yeah, replacing that one, that is just a single, because we're stealing air from there. You have to put a double in, and then you put obviously the existing line back onto that as well. So, and I'm pretty sure you have to put a washer between all of these, so that is all properly sealed up. And they come with heaps of copper washers, so I think you have to like put a copper washer between everything. And so you need 3 new copper washers in total for that. And a little tip: put the air line, like the plastic air line, on that connection before you screw it in, because otherwise you're probably not able to get the plastic PVC line on that. It is like that already very difficult. And I put the bolt through that, and then you like wiggle it in, sort of. But also my hands are full of sunscreen and sweat probably. Maybe a little bit of spit will help. Fucking hell. So, okay, I just got that connected. It also helps when you like get a lighter and like heat it like slightly up the pipe. Yeah, it just slides on and then it cools down, it gets hard again, and then it's like, yeah, it's not coming off. I put that line in now, copper washer, and then the other pipe, and then again another copper washer. So let me try if you can see that. Down here, that goes on top of that, like so, and then another copper washer on that. So now I have to get that all back into that hole, so that's going to be interesting without falling out. you get in with the 7mm, 17mm wrench here, but just it takes very long to put that screw in. The hard part is for me, I'm working off a manual a friend sent to me, so I can't download the original one from the guy who sold me that, because it just doesn't work online, and he's just like, he doesn't send it to me, which is all good. So that's why it's a little bit harder for me to understand and wrap my head around like how things work. For the first time, I think it's not too bad. I pretty much figured it out now, or like I figured everything out so far. So I quick show you that over here. So that tile here, that part here it comes separate in a little bag. So that is just, you have to bolt that on. There's like 2 bolts here. So there's a little spacer there which has to go in there, so that takes it away from the PDO itself, like a little bit. So then you just tighten these 2 bolts here, that one and down there at the bottom there, that one. Then the next step is to connect that to here, I think. Like it goes to that one, but I'm gonna double check that. Alright, so far I have now everything sort of connected. What I wanted to connect before I put the center console back in its hole. So I'm gonna do that now. So that is probably gonna hammer down, which should be not really a problem. Okay, I maybe should go on top of that. So, alrighty, so that's back in. So in theory now I can connect that again. So that is the forward and reverse lever. So obviously I rebuilt the gear stick as well. So every time when you buy an Overdrive, in my opinion the Overdrive should come with that. When you like fit it yourself, it should come with that, like with these rubbers here on the side. So the bushing inside should also be with it. You know, I'm not replacing that right now because mine is still okay-ish. But I also don't have a new one now, and it is like Christmas and I can't get anything. So the other thing is, before you start, double check on that rubber here, what is underneath of the gear stick. So that sits in here, like that sits on top of that. If you see, like that hole, yeah, like that. So, and I have that problem that mine is completely cut up. Here there's like holes in it. Yeah, so what I'm gonna do now, because I do not, you can still buy these brand new, but I think they cost like 220 bucks. So, and that is just too much money. Sorry. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tape it up. I have really good exterior tape, what is used to waterproof roofs from houses and stuff. So yeah, that stuff sticks like shit. No, it sticks very, very well on clean surfaces. So I cleaned everything up. That is all paint, but you see that's the army green paint, which is not a problem. Doesn't matter everywhere is cut up, it is clean. So I gotta put tape on that now, and then just leave it like that, I guess. So that's probably the best thing I can do for now, because yeah, I'm not gonna spend 200 bucks on a piece of rubber. Alright, so I fixed that boot here. Not very pretty, but it is strong and it is, yeah, good again. Also a few from the inside, which is not too much of a problem. So I saved $200 on that. Pretty good. Now let's put that back together with the gear. You're filming that, make sure it's in the frame. Everything works mechanically, so let's work on the overdrive, the air system. Probably have to pluck that off as well on some point. That was the pressure line for the PTO. I think I took that off the PTO, was it? Can't remember. Something like that. I need to go for a wee really quick. For what that piece was, what I got delivered with the overdrive. But there's where the 3 air hoses go through and then they connect into here then. You can see that there. So yeah, that's probably the next thing I'm gonna do now. Lining the, or like putting the main air supply line, trying to find a good spot to run it through the truck and the chassis and everything to go to the main supply on the overdrive. I don't really want to go under here because the drive shaft is here, so I wanted to stay clear of that as much as possible. So, but I also think we should go under here somehow, so just that it looks better. And then come up here again. God bless with breath in these lungs. Life too short to play it on speed run. Only get one, no option to rerun. With Babylon goes who hide to reach some. Down to earth, stay grinding when storms come. Rat race, only one to run from. Better say cheese, but say split in the funds. Living in the moment, I ain't. Wow, they're really hard to connect there. Oh. Alright, should be good enough. So what you have to do is they come with 6mm pipes and with 4mm pipes. Obviously into this gear stick they're all the 4mm pipes going in, but these are all made for 6mm. And what you have to do, you have to run a 6mm first and then reduce it down. They come with a reduction, so reduce them down to 4mm. That is what I'm doing now, but it's definitely easier to connect these hoses without the actual thing is attached to it. Just took it off again and I'm going under the truck now and tighten it now. Also again, I'm not tightening them too much because of yeah, I don't want to pull any threads or anything or break anything, so that's why I'm trying to be gentle with that. So now I'm going to take that off again. But first of all, we run that up to the gear lever, pretty much to the gear stick, and then I know where to cut that. Alright, so these are all made for 6mm hoses, so then you have to reduce it down to 4mm. Beat it like a drum set, breathe, stretch, let it go. Everybody need a refresh, go. Come on, let's go. So what I do pretty much now, I'm going to follow that main line. I'm going to zip tie them together as well. like so. I always leave them like slightly longer so you can cut them again if you ever have to, or like if they come off for whatever reason, you can cut a clean end to it and then you can reconnect the same hose again. But yeah, if it's too short, you can't, and then you're stuck out in the bush. These are the reductions I talked about. So they're going from 6mm to 4mm. And yeah, I'm just connecting these now to the 6mm first, and then I find a place for them underneath where I can zip tie them to, or like I leave them loose for now so I can connect the 4mm hose a bit easier to it. But yeah, I just go in here like that, very simple, very easy. Put that on here, up. And that's it. And then you need an 11mm spanner, which I don't have. Why is it not 10? That's 10. Alright, let's save that here. Do I have 11? That is 12. Okay, 12 it is. Alright, I have 12. There we go, that's the next one. Ah, schade.
Uh-oh.
Now I hope I connected it the right way by accident. Ha, I didn't even check. Alright, that one goes to that side. Alright, let's have a look. Let me quick show you that, because I think in the manual it is yeah, very hard to see. These Overdrive should come with a paper manual. So now that is number 1. Okay, let's start with number 2. Okay, number 2 is the control line. So that is, if you can see that one down here. If you see it there, you see that silver box here? So that line coming out of that one here, yeah? It's like everything is in the way, that one here. So that comes out here, it's 6mm, yeah? Runs all the way up to here, and then gets reduced down to 4mm. So I'm gonna zip tie it all up, and then comes out here at the top, runs into the gear stick, and that gets plugged into number 2. So that is the full left side on the gear stick. So the other one is going into number 1, which is where is it? That one here. So that one here, you see that coming out here. So that is again a 6mm line going up here, all the way up. Whoop, and then getting reduced down to 4mm again. So that is the 4mm line, which gets connected to that now. So and that 4mm line here gets plugged in to number 1, and that is that one there. So something like that. Give that a little tuck down. So that is number 1, and that gets connected to that. So, and number 3 gets plugged in here in that one. That's number 3. It's also, there's a number there on the side. You can't see it in the camera. So, and that is pretty much just a vent. So that goes on top of everything and plugs also through here, like so. And when you wet these a little bit, then so you wet them a little bit, so then they go in much easier. So and then you have them like that. So and I think that is more than enough to shift all the gears through. I forgot to show you now, obviously you have to screw that on, so you have to take that cap off with a sharp knife. You can go in here in one of these corners and then you pull that up. So and there's a 17mm nut underneath it where you can tighten that to the gear stick. So I don't know why they're not doing that straight away. Yeah, maybe you want to have that turned or whatever for whatever reason. But yeah, so I tightened that. That is all in now. And now that one can go over that, and then I'm done with that thing here. Alright, see that? That's it. That is it. Very nice. Switch works, everything works. Next step in the overdrive is to bleed the clutch. So that is the clutch reservoir here. So, and you use your normal brake fluid, dot 3 or dot 4 will do the job. So I have 2 liters here. I don't need 2 liters for it, but I'm not sure how much I need, so I'm gonna flush the system and also replace the whole fuel fluid, and then later on I can just put it back in here. So we keep these here for now. And you need a pressure bleeder for that. Like I said, it's a brake and clutch pressure bleeder. Pretty simple system. That one is from Sydney Tools. I think it was 200 bucks. Of course, everything is expensive. But now you see the fluid is going up that hose into the reservoir, and then it should start pletchering soon. There you go. So that is my flush. So I flushed everything, and now I connect that again. I need to push the clutch. Alright, that one here now is pretty much the hardest part of the whole overdrive installation. I have to get that switch in, which I'm not 100% sure where that goes yet. I'm just taking that master cylinder off here to get me a bit more room, and then it should be bolted onto the clutch somewhere, somehow. So, which I'm but still not sure where exactly that goes. But I'm just trying to make myself a bit more room here. I have no idea, to be honest, but I'm trying to get myself a little bit more access, and I'm trying to get the whole clutch assembly out so I can properly work on it, because like I'm just laying down here and it just fucking hurts, and it's just not very nice. So I'm trying to get the dashboard out and see if I can reach the screws from here. Alright, it's out, but I have a bad feeling. Because I don't have the screw holes here. Let's give Justin a call. what I did now, I took the whole clutch assembly out because I couldn't find any holes to mount that switch for the overdrive to. So that means, so I took it out just to get a better, just to have a better look at it. And as you can see here, I don't have any holes in here. So to mount that too, so that gets mounted like that. So you see that pivot point here, yeah. So that should align with that, and that should sit something around that, so that you can pivot it slightly. But now we have to mark these holes and drill new holes in it, and then we can bolt that straight to that, and also can weld the metal piece straight away to it, which is here in here somewhere, I hope. Yeah, there it is. So that little piece of steel here, that gets welded to the clutch pedal like that, a bit further back, probably like that. So, and that is what pushes that switch in when you clutch in. Yeah, so now we have to go to the factory and gonna go and get my drill set because I don't have that here, which is a bit unfortunate, but has to be done. We have to keep going. I want to get that in today. So, because we got it out now, that's why I'm gonna give that a quick little makeover, that little respray. These temperatures, that's gonna dry very quick. So, and then at least it's all good and new. Get all the grap off it. So I marked it and I've drilled two 6.5mm holes, so it gives me a little bit of play around with that in the holes. So now I'm just kind of test fitting it so I can weld that little metal piece onto here, something like that. That works with that switch here. So, looks like brand new. You happy with that? So these are where the cables go through. What I do is, I bought some rubber grommets. So they have to be drilled in here like with 9.5mm. So then you could, in theory, squeeze them in here. So and then you can run your cable through it, and there's no way of them getting damaged or anything, which is good. So I'm gonna put a Dodge plug on these, that when they come out, that they are nice and protected. That is the cable for the light in the dash. That's the smaller one, and the bigger one is the one what goes actually to that switch we just welded on, where we just welded that little thingy on it. So I have to grab another grommet for that. So I bought a 4-pin Deutsch plug. Don't ask me why they're called Deutsch, but they're waterproof, and like all in the automotive industry, they're using that to wire cables up and stuff. So gonna use that, gonna wire that up now, and then we go from there. That's it, that's the first side. Now we just have to do the other side the same. I ran the cable through the firewall. That is all done. Now I'm connecting the switch to the freshly painted clutch assembly. And then, fingers crossed, we're gonna get that back in position. Hopefully. So, and then a bit of wiring to do, and that should be it then. So that's my ground cable now, which goes to down to the solenoid switch, yeah?
Yeah.
So I got one ground and one power.
Yep. So one ground goes to one side of the solenoid switch, or to the switch that's at your. So the power wire goes to the solenoid switch on the clutch pedal. So that one. So power goes into there on one side, and then you take another lead and run it out of the other side, and then run that to the blue wire on the one that comes through the firewall for the solenoid. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but
It's basically the same thing, but you're adding an extra component.
I have 2 plugs on these now. So that is the left one is the fucking switch, and the right one is the what comes through the firewall.
Yeah. So run the power wire down from the dash to the switch.
Let's get it out of gear first. So she's running.
Take you a few minutes to build up air pressure.
Yeah. Just need to wait for air pressure. That works. Now the light is on. Now it's now it's not in overdrive. Now it's in overdrive. Yeah, nice. That works. So you can flick it down, clutch it, now it's out. You flick the switch, clutch it, and now it's in. Yeah, cool. That works. It's just weird that they make the light so when the light is off, it's in overdrive, and not the other way around. That's just weird. Okay, it works. It works, it works. But you can't fucking see the light. Alright, you know what time it is? Beer o'clock. Now we get everything back together, and then we go for a test drive. The overdrive is in. Everything is done. I just did all the wiring. I'm sweating. It is super hot, and if you've never done an overdrive, it is definitely a challenge. The manual what gets supplied with the overdrive pretty much useless. I'm very lucky that I have Justin from Brown Bear Components and Stu. These guys just saved me here, and they just helped me out. The hardest part on the overdrive installation is the wiring and to get the switch onto your clutch panel. So I'm trying, like, bear with me, it's gonna get a little bit technical now, and I'm trying to explain it as good as I can. So, first of all, let's take you outside. So you got two cables. We do the brake right here. So you got two cables coming from the Overdrive. I just put that on a sheet of paper because I think it is much easier to understand like that. So you got two cables coming from the Overdrive, a thicker one and a thinner one. So, and before I run them through the firewall, I cut them in half and I connected them again with a Deutsch plug. So every time I tilt the cap, I can actually unplug it and then tilt the cap. That is the breaker, what is under in your dashboard pretty much. So where all your breakers are in the Unimog. So, and there's like, I think there's the fourth or the fifth from the left is a free breaker you can use. So, and you run power from a breaker up there down to the switch on the clutch. So, and then that goes into the blue wire on the switch. So, and then from that brown wire, that gets connected to the solenoid. So that's the blue wire from the thicker cable. So the two brown cables coming out of the Overdrive from either side, going straight to ground. It pretty much doesn't matter where you put them to ground. They just have to go to ground. You can also run them up into the dashboard. There are a few places where you can connect them. So then the other loop is you go from the breaker to the light in the dashboard. So, and then there's like two contacts on the light. So you run power through the light and that goes back to the power to the Overdrive. So, and that is pretty much it. So it is, I think that makes it a bit more simple. So you pretty much have two loops with power going that way and then to ground. And then you got power from here to the light into here and then to ground. So that is pretty much it. And I hope that makes it a bit more simple for everyone who ever does that themselves, because the manual that comes with it, in my eyes, is absolutely useless. It doesn't explain how you run the wires. And also these cables come connected with a plug. So there's a plug on these, I think on these as well. And I cut these plugs off straight away and I hardwired them because plugs always come loose, and why would I ever have to take them off, you know? So I think that makes it a bit easier, and that's it with the wiring in for the Overdrive.